first. And then I'll share my screen and let's get back to it. Okay, let's pretend that never even happened. Oh,
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 come on now.
oh, oh,
Oh.
there we go. Woo! Okay. So what I was just showing you, whoa, I need to be on here. Okay, so my eyedropper tool. Okay, we want to check to make sure that also I can deselect. I don't need that selected. We want to make sure that this is actually color rich black. So I click the eyedropper here. Look, we got our white. It's all at 0%. That's cool. White should be at 0%. Now, oh God.
That's recording.
Yeah. I want it on my desktop. Okay. There. Okay. Sorry, y'all had to see all that. All right, back to business. Now finally we can check, make sure this is actually color rich black. So I'll do my eyedropper to select it, and then we'll click up here. Guess what? 100, 100, 100, 100. We did it. That means our image is ready to print. So now we would want to save this file as a JPEG, because that's the easiest way to send to the printer. We don't want to send a Photoshop file to the printer because it can get confused. So I'll send it as here, and I'm gonna call this final because it's all done. It's ready to print, and then I would save it. Boom. Make sure our quality is high. All right, that one's ready to print. That was easy mode. Y'all want to see hard mode? All right, so I'm gonna create a new file and I'm gonna try to go through this real quick because I want to respect y'all's time. So if you have questions about it, I mean, I'll be down to stick around if you want to like stay more, ask more questions about it, but I want to let y'all leave if you want to leave. So this one, I'm gonna make one for Catherine's art. Do you want to show your beautiful art to the people? Yes, it looks awesome. I love it.
Yes.
I will say this one is very challenging because we see lots of different colors and different layers and levels and all kinds of things going on, but it's gonna be a great learning experience. So I created a brand new file. I made sure all my settings was the same as the last one. And okay. And now I'm going to put in, I think I already have it saved. Yeah, that one is not finished. So, bruh, where'd it go? Uh, sorry guys.
If you do a hand-drawn image, do you just take a photo of it?
You can take a photo or scan it.
There's scanning.
No,
There's
Oh.
no.
I don't think so.
There's a scanning app. It's called like
Yes.
Oh, does that work?
It's free.
There's
right?
there is a
That's
lot of scanning apps. You can also, if you have an iPhone, the Notes app actually has a scanner which will scan images really nicely. All right, so I got it saved here, right? It looks like this. Does anybody know what I forgot to do first? Hey, someone's paying attention. Good. We gotta set our margins. So I'm gonna do it real quick. Boop, boop, boop. 0.25 on each side, just like that. Now we're ready. Oh, and I'm gonna make a new layer. Sorry, I'm trying to go fast. My brain doesn't work so good when I do fast. Okay. Now I made a new layer for our art. I'm gonna drag and drop. Bloop. And I want to work with this. I want to turn it to work with this. So the screens, technically, you could do your transparency like this because you can make it a little bigger for a horizontal image. The screens, most of the ones that we have are 20 by 24 inches. So an 8.5 by 11 transparency will fit in any orientation. But just for the sake of this example, I'm just gonna work on it this way. So it's definitely gonna get cut off, right? So I'm gonna make it much smaller, like this. But let's make it like just big enough that it will work within the margins. So like that. and then I press enter. Yes.
Why wouldn't you just turn this like landscape? Is there?
Yeah, you could definitely do
Oh, okay,
that.
okay,
I'm just trying to go fast.
okay. You're doing great.
But yeah, you could totally change the canvas to be landscape and work on it that way. That way your image can be a little bit bigger. But I'm just doing it this way just for fun.
Did you save it as a grayscale?
No, so that was the image in color. You can see like,
Oh, it was, okay.
but it's because my Photoshop is set in grayscale
Gotcha.
mode. So as soon as I import it, it automatically goes to grayscale. So that's good. We're in grayscale. We don't have colors anymore, but this is not going to print nicely. It's not going to make a good transparency just like this, right? And a lot of times images that are hand drawn, you will have this problem. Like your background won't be perfectly white. Your levels might not be so good. So now I'm going to show you levels again, which I already showed you. But this time, there's going to be a lot more going on with our levels. So I'm going to, I don't see my levels right now. So I'm going to go here, Windows, Adjustments. Oh, I guess it was right there. Properties, Adjustments. Okay. And then we have these options. So I'm going to adjust our levels. Okay, so now here we see a lot more variation in the levels, right? Because there is a lot more variation within this image. You can see a lot of gray, some like almost white, but not quite, like all kinds of stuff. So the first thing that I want to do is, well, I think this part, this little corner here is going to be too complicated to deal with the levels. I think I'm going to fix the levels first and then just erase that part separately. So what the first thing I want to do is try to push the whole background to be white. So to do that, I'm going to lower this white. And it looks like this area on my levels here is probably most of that like kind of grayish part. So hopefully if I go down past there, it will bring a lot of this down to white. So that pretty much worked, right? It pushed our background to white, just like how we like it. And then this is the part that was saying your image is a little difficult because it has multiple colors. Let's say just for the sake of this example that I just want to print like all these letters like block, like no shading, no line work like this, like just block. Okay, so to do that, I'm gonna raise the black point way up and see if I can make them block. So pretty close, right? We lose all of that dual tone you had going on because our transparency can only be one. If you wanted to have a print like that, you would have to do 2 layers. So make 2 different transparencies, one of like the line work and then one of like the fill. So for this example, let's say we just want it to all be block. We're gonna lose our inside of our letters. For now, we're gonna lose this part, but that's okay because this is just an example, right?
Yeah.
And this will help you think about like creating an image, right? Certain things make it difficult, certain things are easier. So this looks okay. We're getting pretty close. We still see a lot of, little empty spots, but let's work with this for now. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back down to my image layer and I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool because I really just want to delete this part. So this tool is like a selection tool. So I just click and it draws little lines and then everything that's inside of those lines will become selected. So I just gonna click. I do not like when it anchors like that, bro. Okay, let's just go with it. So I'll draw around here. We have my selection. I'm literally gonna just press delete. Okay, delete. Okay, pretty much worked. There's still a little corner there. You could clean that up. You could just use the eraser tool, press E, erase. Okay. So now we're getting somewhere, right? It still just has a lot of inconsistencies. So let's see. Oof, it's really almost 7, huh? I'm gonna try to go through this real quick. Are y'all actually, do y'all want me to like rush through it really fast, or do y'all want to stay 10 minutes later and I have a little more time to go through it?
I do have my right coming to pick.
Yeah. That's cool.
So I probably can't stay.
That's okay.
Yeah, I have to run this. at
It's all
7,
good.
yeah.
If you gotta run at 7, go ahead and you can actually probably head out now. And then I think I'll just finish this on the recording and I'll send that to y'all. So if you want to stay and be here while I talk through, I'm gonna talk about denoising and I'm gonna talk about doing halftones real quick. And so that will be in the recording. If y'all have to head out, it's totally good. I want to respect your time. But if you want to stay, you're welcome to stay for like 10 more minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
you.
yeah, thanks y'all so much for coming. So nice to meet y'all.
Get home safely. I'm seeing you guys next
Cool.
week.
Yes,
Sweet.
see you Sunday. Back at it again. All right, word. And so for y'all, feel free to head out whenever you feel like you need to head out. But I think I can get through most of this in 10 minutes. All right, so we see all these little speckles of white here now. And sometimes you have little speckles of white. Sometimes you will, especially with hand-drawn images, when you adjust the levels, you'll have a lot of little speckles of black out in here in the white space out here. Like it might be little eraser bits or like dust or whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna show you a technique to to help get rid of like speckles or little holes or whatever. And that is going to be by it's this cool trick where we expand and contract selections to kind of like clear up any of these little islands that we have going on. So I am going to go up here to select and I'm going to go to color range. And let me think about this. So now I have my eyedropper tool here. So I can select either white and it will select all these white pixels, or I could select the black and it will select all these black pixels. So for this, I'm trying to get rid of the white pixels. So I'm going to select white. If you're trying to get rid of black pixels, you want to start with black. And hopefully that will make more sense when you see what I'm actually doing. Okay, so I'm going to press OK, and then it will select. It looks crazy because it's selecting all these little tiny bits of white that are all over this image, right? As well as like this, if you see, if I zoom out, see it's selecting like the whole background as well. So then what we're going to do is, we want to get real close in here to look at some of these little specks. Like this is a good example. We see all these little holes in the image. Okay. We are going to expand our selection. Wait. Sorry, I'm trying to think of, usually I do it to cover up black spots on the outside. I think actually we want to start with the black. Let me try it. Sorry, you guys, bear with me. I'm gonna select all the black pixels instead. So let's select the black pixels. So same thing, we got all our black pixels. It still looks crazy. Now what I want to do, yeah, I think this is the right way to do it. I'm going to expand my selection a little bit so that it will fill up all these little islands within the sea of black, right? It will like collect them all within the selection. And then I'm going to contract the selection again. But what's gonna happen, because these parts already got all filled in, when we contract, it's not going to take them away, but it will like fix what's going to happen at the edges. So first, I'm going to modify and I'm going to expand it. Okay. Let's see. Some of these look kind of bigger. So if it's a very small spec, you can do like 1, 2, or 3 pixels. I'm going to try doing like 5 because I see some of these are kind of big. Okay. So that expanded all of our selection outwards, and you can see now all of these islands within here are no longer looking funky. They're all within the selection, which is good because I'm trying to make all of these little white parts turn black. It also looks like it picked up a lot of little tiny black pixels up here and then expanded those. So that might be a separate issue that we would have to fix separately. But for now, let's focus on getting rid of these white islands in here. Okay, so I expanded it. Now I just want um to contract it. And you want to contract it by like 1 or 2 pixels more than what you expanded. So let's do like 7 and see what happens. Okay. That looks pretty good. So now we have all of our black parts selected. And it looks like we got rid of pretty much all these black specks because we contracted. So those are not selected either, which is awesome. Still a little bit, so there's still going to be some cleaning up to do, but overall looks pretty good, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a new layer.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you wanted it to look a little like handwritten,
Yeah,
you could leave it like this.
totally.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. If you like that look, go
Mhm.
for it. I think it can look really cool. I'm just showing you like if you did want your image to look really clean, like this is kind of how you would do it. So now I'm going to make a new layer. Okay, and let's call this cleaned up art. This is a little cleaned up. Okay, and so now I'm on this layer, but I still have the same selection, which is really cool because then what we can do is we can fill in. Whoa, don't do that. I wanted to have the paint bucket and yeah, we're on black. I'm going to fill in all of the selection with this black. Boom. Check it out. No more white in there, huh? Okay. And so now I can turn this one off, the one we had before, and I can deselect as well. Okay, pretty clean, huh? Okay, we still got a couple of problems here, like a little specks. If it's just like a couple of things, you can literally just take your eraser and get rid of them. Okay, it's also like if you don't like how this looks, you can also just literally take your brush and fill it in. You know, like you're in Photoshop, you can do lots of things with it, okay? But that is just a good, useful technique for getting rid of a lot of little things. So you would basically do it like the opposite way. If you had a lot of black specks you were trying to get rid of, you would select the white areas, expand them so that all the little black islands all over the background would get included in the selection, and then contract it so that your image isn't getting all puffy. Does that make sense? Cool. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention when you are using the brush, mine's already set at this because I've been doing screen print stuff, but you want to make sure that your hardness, your opacity, your flow, everything is at 100% because we don't want to be making any gray pixels. We want everything pure black, okay? So if you are using brush, you want to make sure, same thing if you're using the eraser tool. So this is actually not good because my eraser is very low hardness, so it's going to create some gray pixels. We would want that also 100%, 100, 100. Okay. Yeah.
So would you recommend for hand-drawn images, like after seeing how difficult this was, like, would you recommend basically only doing it like in a black Sharpie or?
It would make it easier.
Okay.
Or if you just, I mean, just having one color. I think also watercolor is probably one of the hardest mediums to transfer because it is so like washy and yeah, I think like pencil can be good, pen,
Okay.
like the cleaner you can have your lines and the more consistent your color can be, the easier it will be to get it ready.
Good to know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and seeing that, I'm like, oh, I would want to make it the
Right.
problem easier on myself, so like do it in hand-drawn image, that's
Exactly.
easier to do.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned if you are gonna hand draw that you can use a Sharpie directly on the
Mhm.
transparency. Is there any like mirroring issues that you have to think about, or would you write it just like a regular, like you don't have to like flip it? Cause it's not gonna like print flipped, right? Like in
Yeah.
a block print, you have to like write it backwards.
So you definitely do have to think about these things, but I think we'll cover that more when we talk about burning screens. Because your transparency, once you have your transparency created, you can flip it around either way. So you can figure that out later. For getting it printed, you don't really have to think about it because you can always flip it over later.
Okay.
Yes, but that's a good question. You're thinking ahead. Okay, and then I'm going to very briefly show you how to do halftones in case anyone wants to do something that has shading. Yes, it's all good. Yes, thank you so much for coming. So nice to meet you. I'll see you next week. Yeah, sorry this is going hella late, you guys. Usually we will be better about being on time. But I haven't taught this part before, so. So I'm gonna show this real brief. Y'all can stick around or it will be on the video. So I'm gonna make a new file. Okay, I'm gonna go pretty quickly through this. I forgot to name it, but whatever. You understand by now. Bye. All right, and I'll call this my art, and then let's see. I'm gonna just do one that I already know I have ready. Oh, geez. I'm gonna just do my logo. Because I already know it will work, and I just want to show you all this thing. Okay. I didn't do my margins, but we know how to do that by now. I just want to show you this one concept. Okay, so this has a lot of gray pixels. That's not gonna print very well. We don't want that. So in order to change that, this is on the process guide somewhere too. Oh, here it is. Okay, it's actually very simple. We're just gonna go up here to image, change our mode. We're gonna change it from grayscale to bitmap. And what that's gonna do is change our image to be like little dots or lines. There's different options that I'll show you right now. It's gonna flatten the layers. That's okay, because we just need this layer. And then same thing, generally, yeah, you want to keep this at 300 pixels per inch because we don't want to lose resolution when we're doing this. And our method, we're going to do a halftone screen. It has these other ones that can be used for different things, but we're making a screen, so we want to do halftone screen. I press OK. All right, and so frequency, it's either going to be like lines or dots or whatever. Our frequency is how many of those little points are going to be within each inch. Our screens, because of the mesh count, can go up to 50 per inch. This is another thing you can play with. If you go down lower, you'll have like more bigger dots. Smaller is like more refined, but you can do different things for different designs. So I want to keep my image pretty fine tuned, so I'm gonna do it pretty high. I'll do 45. Angle is like which direction, like this way that it creates them. So that's also like a design thing you can mess around with. Same with shape. This is like, I'll show you a couple of options. Like, so let's do round. And actually just to demonstrate, I'm gonna put this really low. So there's gonna be like big dots and they're gonna be round. Okay. So now it made it half tone. And so because I did really big, you can really see these dots, which sometimes can be a design choice if you like that. But now we don't have any more gray pixels. We just have black or white. And then it's kind of hard to see because I did it so big, but you can see like different levels of shading. Like this cube, it looks a little bit darker than the letters, but actually it's only black and white pixels, which is good for printing. Okay, I can also, let's say, I'll just show you one more example. Like,
So pass my phone around with an example from
word.
somebody, from the last cohort that was halftone. You can see like the little dots and how that like turns out.
So for this one, I'm gonna turn the frequency way up so it will have a lot more resolution. And let's do lines. I like the lines. I actually really like how those ones look. And I press OK. And actually from afar, like it looks pretty good. You can barely even see that the lines are there because I turn the that frequency up so high. If you zoom in, you can definitely see them. And so the way this works is like the lines are thinner where it's lighter and darker where it is darker. And so it creates this illusion of shading or halftones. And then like you can even see like the highlights, it still puts a little bit of lines. They're just super thin. So it's not like pure white. Still adds some like texture and depth to those. And so you can like mess around with different things with that. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. And then again, like no matter how you process your image, you do the color rich black step the same at the end. But that is pretty much it. Thank y'all for sticking around. I think we'll be more on time the next other weeks, but appreciate y'all. And I'll send out these hopefully today in an email.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you all so much for coming.
Bye.